Introducing QuickBooks. Welcome, class. Want to go over a very brief introduction of QuickBooks. This will not be the longest of my lectures, but I want you to get familiar with the um, main areas that we will be focusing on, I guess, in this course. QuickBooks is only 1/3 of the course, the total course, so we will not be going through every single chapter, but we'll be going through the very specific chapters, and I think that will give you a good overview of how to use QuickBooks and its role in the accounting world. The QuickBooks that we're using is 2012. They obviously have 2013 available at this point, and maybe that will be upgraded. But for right now, this is the most recent version that we have. And in this chapter, we're going to be just talking about the overview. Very broad stroke of the overview, and then we'll get into some specifics in later lectures. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about overview of the product line, some of the basic accounting principles, and the behind the scenes. And this is really important because a lot of times when you're working with QuickBooks, you just forget that you're actually doing accounting, debits and credits, and all those wonderful things that make accounting, accrual-based accounting, cash-basis accounting, all the financial statements. I mean, it's so intuitive and easy. You forget that, and we want to always be reminded how important it is in QuickBooks. And then we're going to talk about the data filing types, really the QBBs, the QBWs, and the QBM files, and what they mean and how relevant they are to our class. Opening and portable files and what that means, and how to restore backup files, and entering some basic transactions. Obviously, we will not go into a whole lot of detail with entering transactions because we're going to talk about that as we go through the different modules. And the interface features, and this means how QuickBooks interfaces or connects or is compatible with Excel, Word, etc. And then the help feature, which you always will love to have, because if you don't know everything about QuickBooks, actually nobody knows everything about QuickBooks, so having that available to you is absolutely essential, and we'll talk about how to access it and use it. Obviously, there's an online edition to the QuickBooks. What we're doing in this class is we're going to be using the software portion and the software that you actually install into a hard drive. The online edition is very different in terms of how it looks, but not how it performs. The performance is absolutely the same. The features are the same. It's just how it looks. So it's a different way of seeing the software. So don't get hung up about that. It's really not a different program. It's just a very different visually from the Pro. Pro gives you a lot of features, but the Premier and Enterprise is really the big guns of this software. Accountant, contractor, nonprofit, and the different areas. I believe we have QuickBooks Pro, but we'll talk about Premier, and the differences between Premier and Pro is very small because how we're learning in class, we're not going to be have a need overall for the contractor, the nonprofit, or the wholesaler type. We're going to be really using the retail. So we're not going to see too much of a difference because the learning process is really global in scale, and it doesn't really matter which program you have, whether it be online or Pro or Premier. The essential skills you'll need is going to be exactly the same. Okay. One of the things that I love about QuickBooks is they have a lot of releases, and when they have different, sorry, let me go back a second. They have a lot of patches, and what I mean by that is there's always something that they can improve upon, make easier, and I love that because this is not a perfect program, nor is any program out there in accounting. So having the constant updates is very important, and we'll talk about that too. And what the focus is, again, this is an accounting software, so we're going to be talking about the financial position of an organization relative to its debts. We're going to be using these software to identify whether or not they can continue, the differences between assets and liabilities, or the net worth, which is the balance sheet. We're going to be, remember, this is very important, this is Accounting 101. The accounting equation is particularly relevant. So don't ever forget the importance of the accounting equation. Assets equal to liabilities and equity. This is definitely the underpinning, the foundation of any accounting software, regardless of whether it's QuickBooks or some other program. The main thing is we can't forget the fact that we're accountants, and that's what we do. We're using accounting software to record transactions and ledgers, and they're called accounts, and we are going to have a summary of all of those accounts, and we call it our general ledger. These are not terms you don't know. And the listing of every account is called our chart of accounts. And each count has have a specific type, whether it be asset, liabilities, income, or expense. These things we already know. I just want to make certain that we talk about it because in light of QuickBooks, everything is going to be on foundational principles of accounting. Even though you don't see it happening, you know when you're entering in accounts payable invoice, you're going to be debiting your expense most of the time, and you're going to be crediting accounts payable. And then when you pay it, you're going to be crediting accounts a cash and then debiting accounts payable. So let's never forget what's really going on behind the scenes when we're doing these transactions. And although these debits and credits are happening behind the scenes, it's still accounting. So we don't want to lose sight of the accounting of everything we do. So obviously we have our asset, liability, income, and expense, and obviously our equity accounts. And we know this is all in part of accounting one. We double entry accounting. Our debits will always equal our credits. Even when you're entering in transactions on the general ledger, like a journal entry, your debits will always equal your credits, and QuickBooks will force it to equal in order for it to balance. It will never allow you to leave a screen unless the entry balances, and that's important to note. And this all goes back to double entry accounting. Double entry accounting is every debit in one or more accounts creates a credit in another account. So we already know this is all good stuff. Debits are not bad. Credits are not always good. These so and again, we're going to rely on. We're going to be totally reliant on your accounting skills when you're doing this. We're going to make some assumptions, and these are the assumptions we're going to be making, that you already know, understand the double entry accounting, that you understand the accounting equation, you want to understand the various terms that are used in accounting, because we're not going to go over these terms because these terms are going to be fully understood by you. It's just going to be on using them in a software program, and that's important. Now, the transactions on QuickBooks are entered on forms, and for the most part, those transactions are the forms are almost identical. They are very, very closely the standard forms that are given in QuickBooks are almost the same, and you can customize those, which we probably will not go into detail within the course, but although the invoices and bills have a very similar structure, you can always modify them. And QuickBooks handles all of the debits and credit. This is called behind the scenes activity. We're going to talk about the cash basis and accrual basis, and you know what that is. Cash basis is saying when something is paid or when cash is received, you make the entry. But the accrual basis is revenues and expenses are recognized when the transaction occurs, or in this case, when the earnings process has been complete. That is the accrual basis as far as GAAP is concerned. And the cash basis method is revenues and expenses are recognized when the cash changes hands, when it's paid or when the cash is received. And again, we need to know this, but we already know this, but the main thing here is when you're entering transactions into the system, you're going to be automatically using the accrual basis method, but you can generate reports based on the cash basis method. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, depending on what you're looking for, what you're trying to convey to your audience. And as I said, you can create multiple reports in either method. We are going to use this one company, and we're going to do various transactions with this one company, and it's going to be called the Academy Photo. It is a studio and a retail or corporation. It also is a service and merchandising company. It does provide a service, which is photo shoots, and it does provide products. And it has a couple locations, San Jose and Walnut Creek. And the files that we're going to be working with in general are going to be the data files. It's going to be the backup files, which we talk about the QBWs, the QBBs, and the QBMs, the portable files. The portable files is what we're going to use for the most part in class when we do classwork. I mean face-to-face classwork, that is. And we'll be using the file, and we'll have the QBM files. They're condensed, but they allow you to move your workbook data from one computer to another without having to go through any changes, any conversions, etc. Okay, but backup files is clear. When you create a backup file, this is the extension that it will use, and you'll have to restore based on this. You cannot restore based on a portable file. You have to restore based on a backup file. And so that's what we're going to be working with throughout the course. And launching the program, obviously, it might be an icon on your desktop. And the system automatically defaults to open the previously opened company data file. But not always the case, depending on, again, if you're using the machine at the school, you may see this happen, you may not. I don't want to guarantee it, but generally speaking, when you open it up for the first time, you will see the account or the open data that was previously opened. However, you want to open a different file, you just go to the file menu and open or restore a company. Now, if we're going to open a company file, we have that option. So we're going to do open or restore a company, which is going to be this option right here. And if we want to get out, we're going to just click the exit to get out, or we can even close the company that's currently open. And restoring backup files. Again, when we're working on our cumulative project, it is important that we back up the file every time we make major changes to the file. And in doing so, we have to restore it based on the fact that it is a QuickBooks backup file. But backing up the file is not only for purposes of continuity, but also if anything were to happen, you have a backup file to rely on. So, generally, if you want to open up a restore file or a portable file, you launch the QuickBooks and you go to File menu to open the restore company and you follow the directions. It will create a new QBW file. By doing that, it's going to ask you to save it and give you a name of that file. However, every time we close or we finish our work, our classwork, our physical face-to-face classwork, we're going to create a backup file. And again, it's just to make sure your files are safe. And all the files that we back up will be local, not online. Online would be you would have to go to Intuit and back up based on their system, but we're not doing that. We're going to be doing local backup. But from the file menu, you just choose backup and follow the instructions that it tells you. Now, we are not going to do scheduled backups. We're going to back up based on every time we're in class, which is probably once a week. So don't worry about scheduled backup. Just ignore that. Now, the forms that are in QuickBooks, let's go through each one just in brief. They have the forms, which are going to be like the accounts payable forms when you put in your bills or the invoices that you put in. We have also lists, and these lists will be used to track various types of transactions. We have accounts with our general ledger. We have our registers and we have our items. Items we use to track inventory. Inventory we can track our assets, we can track all sorts of different things. And we'll be going to those individually very, very much so in the future lessons. So when we look at our worksheet, when we go into QuickBooks and we look at it, it's going to have these beautiful little icons and so forth. And the first thing you're going to see is the home page, and you're going to see the section. It's going to have a menu bar, it's going to have a navigation bar, and it has the icon and shortcut keys. Now, the main thing here is the home page, and what you'll see there in the menu bar. And navigation bar is going to also be there as well, and we'll go through each one and what they look like. So first, the menu bar is going to be the file, the edit, the view, list, favorites, etc. As you can see, the icon bar has these cute little pictures of each one of the steps that you want to take. This can be modified and customized to meet your needs, but you'll see the standard one. The home page is right here, and it is separated in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections, and we will talk about them in detail later on. And common tasks are going to be on your using your icons. That's where you should modify it. If your common tasks are going to be including the icons, you should modify them to make certain that the most common tasks are there. And the 5 regions, as you know, is going to be the customer, vendors, employees, companies, and banking, and your account balances. You select activities within your icon bar, and you can either have it as a display of a picture or have it narrated or a description, name, or both. Whichever you want to do, but it can be customized to meet your needs. There are a variety of ways to get support. Sleater is very much helpful and Intuit working together to make certain that you can get the help you need. But the F1 key is going to be essential for your helping, to getting the help you need. But it does give you step-by-step instructions called the how do I. So how do I do it? How do I do this? How do I do that? It's going to be the key function here. As we conclude this section, just remember when we're talking about QuickBooks, we're going to learn so much in so little a time. I suggest strongly that you reread your section and practice all of the problems that are given to you. There are interactive tutorials in this course. There are also some advisors that you can seek, but I think everything that you learn here, I should be able to help you along with the tutorials that I have posted online. This is the conclusion of Introduction to QuickBooks, and let me know if you have any questions in the Q&A section of the discussion forum. Thank you.